How best to approach different implements for carry events, random stuff like steel beams, for example. Individual approach or adapt to the most similar, familiar implement. So what I would say for this, like specificity is key. So if you've got a competition, then I would definitely go and expose yourself to the, like say a medley, for instance. Like if it's a big competition, I would go and get that individual exposure to the event. So this is obviously going to be great from like an injury prevention perspective, like because you're building up that exposure to the obviously the specific implement that you need. So you see it when people get injured. Like a lot of injuries, like in strongman, in my opinion, come from like lack of preparedness, and it'll be like they've caught off guard, and like say I feel sorry for Evan Singleton, poor guy. Like he popped his bicep the other day, but like with the anchor at the Giants live yard, and yeah, that's the thing with the awkward implement. So a lot of people say like at World's Strongest Man, like, oh, should they be doing all these awkward implements, like because of the injury risk is high. But that's what the sport's about, isn't it? But the injury risk is high, in my opinion, because of the lack of exposure to the specific implement. So it is a bit of a tough one in terms of politics, like what you actually believe. But I would say definitely get the try and get as much exposure as you can to the specifics. If you're training in general, I would actually do the opposite, really, in terms of say for instance we're training a medley, and they could have anything that comes up in a comp. Yeah, it comes with risks. But just think practically, right? We're all busy, aren't we? We're all busy. We haven't got like loads of. We've all got other stuff going on apart from competing in strongman and training. So realistically, when we go to train, we want to be training as efficiently as possible. In terms of what I mean by that is like say minimizing the setup time for everything. Like we're not going to be coming in like say a Monday night and you've been at work all day or whatever, and like you're not going to set up a 5 implement medley. Or if you do, like if you're training for an hour and a half to 2 hours, there's going to be an opportunity cost with that. By the time that you set up these 5 different implements, like it might take you half an hour, 40 minutes to do 2 or 3 working sets and then pack it away. And like how much work could you have done in that time? Say for instance, if you were just picking like say one of the items, like say a sandbag, for instance. Like I'm a massive fan of a sandbag, and I enjoy it personally training it, but it's just so practical because it's so practical, so safe. Like relative to the other things, like you go to the point of failure and you just drop it. Like going back to the concentric and fatigue, like you can push yourself to failure and then you can just drop it. Like using the 5 implement medley, doing 3 sets over the course of 40 minutes as an example. Like just imagine if you were doing like say every minute on the minute with like a moderate weight sandbag pick up and sprint 10 meters. Like how much work you could do in, like you could do 40 sets of that in 40 minutes, and you could explore different hand positions, different bag setups, like one at an angle, one forward, one with the bag starting up and then flipping out to the side, shouldering one, like all these different variations that you can do to build up that kind of specific exposure to the well, you say 40 sets is a lot, so sod that, but do 15 sets or 10 sets and then go and train something else. Like go and train something else that you want to work on, like rather than kind of like wasting all your time with set up stuff and that. But as you come to a more specific phase and you're like, right, well, I've got a keg coming up in comp and I've got this metal beam, like, can you like, it is definitely going to be worth going to get that exposure to the event. So yeah, and so what would always do is work backwards. So go and test say if you can practically go and test the competition equipment, even if it's just once, because of logistics, and just have a feel of it. Like say if it's like a metal beam there's only one in the country like designed like this, like go and have a feel for the technique. Go and speak to other people at the gym and say, oh, have you had a go on this? Like have you got any hacks? Have you got any like who's good at this? Like what do they do? How do they pick it up? Where do they put the hands compared to the other stuff? Like try and pick up stuff off people who've been exposed to it a little bit more, and also just learn. Right? Is it? This is another good thing about strongman that a lot of people struggle with. Is sometimes like you go to a comp and you might have your deadlift and it's 250 for reps. You might have your overhead and it's whatever, an axle, and you know what the weight is for reps. But then you might have like say something like, I don't know, like say a car deadlift or a truck pull, and realistically you have no idea how heavy it's going to be. and how heavy it's going to feel. So you've got to just get good. You've got to get good at high reps, low reps, heavy technique, how your technique changes as like on this continuum, if you will. So that's a thing that you could go and find out, like under these awkward implements. Like go and pick it up and then see roughly where it is on the continuum. Say, oh right, well actually, it's lighter than I anticipated. I can actually go into a sprint with this, and I can actually be a bit more reckless with the upper body positioning because I can hold it with my biceps. Or you might go and pick it up and you think, oh my goodness, like I need to be thinking about holding it low because I can't lift it up that high because my arms will be smoked, so I have to keep it low, and almost like a deadlifty upper body position, and focus on short strides. So because it's really, really heavy. But if you get this information from like the start, like you can plug this into your start of your training block, if you will, and think, right, well actually I'm prepping for a heavy, awkward object to carry, and then you can kind of set your training up appropriately.